Welcome back to NFL's Bettors Edge for week 2 of the 2024 season. Not a terrible week last week. I've got, of course, Scott Stehn back with me. This week we got Sniper Wes. And to break down 5 games, we're going to have 2 early games on Sunday slate, 2 afternoon games, and then the Sunday night football game. So let's get right to it, though. Don't forget, if you haven't done so, make sure you like and subscribe. Use that promo code EDGE to save 20% off on everything. But make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss out on all the content we do here. We release the Bettors Edge. The Thursday night football comes out on Wednesday night. Thursday night, we put out the Sunday's slate of games. And then on Saturday, we'll have the Monday night football slate. So make sure you follow along here at Picks and Parlays so that you get in on all of that stuff. Okay, let's kick it off. Bucs and Lions. 2 teams that both looked pretty impressive, maybe a little different. Bucs had that amazing, they just dominated from start to finish, beating what team that they should have beat. Lions beat what I think is a pretty good Rams team. Lions favored by 7. A little shocked that this line is quite this high. Total of 51.5. We've seen these 2 teams play in the playoffs last year, and the Bucs gave them all they could handle. We're going to start with Wes here. Wes, what do you think in this week 2 matchup?
Well, yeah, speaking of that playoff game, so Detroit did win that game last year, 31-23, right? So it was a high-scoring affair. That total last year was 49.5, and the total here is 51.5, so it's a couple points higher. But thing to remember here, Tampa has 4 defensive backs out right now. It does not bode well for their secondary. Goff did have a decent game versus the Rams, but he did throw an interception. But I think he's going to feast here. St. Brown, he had 3 catches for 13 yards versus the Rams, and he's off a mega deal. So you know they're going to want to get their money's worth out of him and go to him early and often. If they do double team him, which they might, that's just going to open up Laporta and Jameson Williams, and we saw him go off against the Rams too. And then also remember the Lions running game. I mean, they ran it down the Rams' throat in overtime also, right? So I like the over here. It's 51.5. It's high. I think it's high for a reason. Remember Baker, he went for 289 and 4 TDs against Washington last week. So, you know, the Bucs offense looks like it's clicking early. And Stafford, he just threw for 317 against the Lions. So you shake it all up and put it together. I like the over here, 51.5 points.
All right, Scott, you on the same here, or are you on something different?
I'm on the road dog here, Craig. The Bucs turned in a really, really good performance against Washington. Of course, we don't know how good Washington is. We didn't get a great answer there about their rookie quarterback. But Baker Mayfield, the early season MVP favorite, 289, 4 TDs, and a QB rating of 146.4. But this is a Bucs defense that absolutely stoned the running game. Kind of flashbacks to 3 years ago. Other than Daniels, who they just gave up 3.6 yards per carry. Tampa Bay, they weren't great at running the football, but they might have found something in that Oregon rookie, Bucky Irving. He had 9 carries for 62 yards. I was not impressed by that Lions defense. They let the Rams run 74 plays and had a hard time getting off the field. I think the Lions are going to have to sustain drives since Tampa Bay gave up just 2 plays over 20 yards against Washington. Even if they get Laporta and St. Brown more involved, which I certainly expect to see, I just don't see a multitude of sustained drives down the field. Finally, Bucs are very good in this spot. Last season, they were 7-2 ATS as road underdogs. I think they do it again. 7 points, that's too many. Give me the Bucs.
Yeah, it's surprising that early betting, we see 62% of the bets on the Bucs. I was a little surprised because, you know, a lot of people don't necessarily watch the entire game and they just see, oh, the Lions ended up winning and covering, when they really should not have won. They should not have covered. I mean, the Rams really kind of let them have that game late. But I like the Bucs here at 7. I think this is a danger spot for Detroit. Everybody said this Detroit defense was going to be a lot better. It was not a lot better. And remember, Puka Nacua went out early, so they didn't even have their full slate of what was going to be a good receiver core. Cooper Kupp looked great, but I think Mike Evans is going to have another big game here. I like the Tampa Bay Bucs plus 7. I think they can win this game, to be very honest. I always like teams as underdogs on getting a touchdown if I think they can win. Baker Mayfield as an underdog, that's when he's at his best, it seems like. All right, so let's go to the next game, another early game. Browns and Jags, 2 teams both coming off losses. I thought the Jags at least were impressive. I mean, they had their chance. They were up the entire game, it felt like, and then Miami came back and won with the last-second field goal. The Browns, on the other hand, whoa, Deshaun Watson looked absolutely terrible. That offense in general, I mean, this thing could come unraveled very easily. Scott, what do you think in this matchup? Jags favored by 3.5 seems actually a little light to me. Total 41.5 here.
Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing. And, you know, of course, you have to always be aware of overreactions in week 2. The Browns probably are a little better than we thought, but man, that Cowboys defense absolutely owned this Cleveland line that was missing both starting tackles with Willis and Jack Conklin. Keep an eye on the injury report. I probably won't make a play on this game before I see if those guys are going to play. And now David and Njoku, they're pretty much everything tied in. He's week to week. We don't know if he's going to play. But Craig, you hit it right on the head. The biggest problem for the Browns is the quarterback position. Watson's supposed to be completely healthy. Everyone's saying this is his year when he's going to look like his old self. And he stunk up the joint, 24 for 45, 1 TD, 2 picks, including a pick 6. He still ran the ball okay, but you know what? So did Tim Tebow. That's not why he's getting that money. This Jags defense played well for the most part against Miami. Offense let them down in the second half. They had a fumble at the 3. They turned it over on downs, and they gave up a huge play to Tyreek Hill, and they lose by 3. They still held the fish to 20 points. I think the Jags get well on this one, and the dog pound is going to be howling after that 0-2 start.
I do see some 3s out there, by the way. I meant to mention that. So search this around. I think, especially if those tackles come back, I think you'll see Cleveland, this line close to 3. Wes, what do you like in this matchup?
Well, as our buddy David Delano said last week, I don't think it's going to be a happy ending for Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, right? So, so no Chubb, no Njoku. They also have 2 starting tackles out too, the Browns do. So here's the problem with Watson. I'll tell you a couple things. So Watson, he holds on to the ball way too long. It's 4.5 seconds per attempt, which is the longest of any quarterback in the league, okay? Problem number 1. Problem number 2, and problem number 1 leads to problem number 2, he got hit 17 times. And the next closest quarterback was hit 11 times. So it's just because he holds on to the ball too long. So, I mean, maybe Jameis Winston's going to be the answer at some point. But, maybe it was just Dallas defense. I mean, they have an elite defense. But, the Jags, they hung tough versus the Dolphins. And they have a pretty good defense as well. But I got to roll with the Jags here, too. They're off a loss. And they could have actually won that game. If you remember, ETN, he fumbled the ball right at the 1-yard line going into the end zone. So the Jags very well could have won that game. And, I'm going to roll with the better defense, the better quarterback, and a Super Bowl winning head coach. And if I can lay 3, I'll lay the 3 if we can find that out there. So shop your lines, but I'll lay 3 with the Jags.
Yeah, one of the things that worries me, I was initially, of course, leaning to the Jags with the Browns, but 70% of the opening bets are on the Jaguars. That is a recipe for a whitewash, as they say. When everybody's on it, that's when, the books like the most. I'm going to take the total here. I'm going to play the under. I think both these defenses are really good. The Jags, I mean, it was, if you take away that long, which obviously you can't do, but the long Hill touchdown, I mean, they would have held up, I think, the most explosive offense down for the entire game. I mean, they really didn't allow much else. So to me, I think the Browns, they have to win with running the ball and their defense. If it gets high scoring, they're just not going to win a lot of games because they'd have subpar decision-making at the quarterback position. Give me the under 41.5 in the Browns and the Jaguars. Now, we're going to 2 teams that are actually coming off of wins and actually look good. One of them, of course, played the Browns. This Cowboys team, very impressive on the road to opening. All those contract situations that kind of got ironed out, even actually on game day, getting Dax done, I think had obviously no negative effect. We saw other teams with holdouts have an effect. Saints, on the other hand, look, I mean, they absolutely, Carolina, I thought might be a little better this year. Okay, I think I was wrong. So maybe we hold a grain of salt to the Saints here. We see the Cowboys favored at 6.5, total 46. I'll start here. I think it's a lot of overreaction. I think the Cowboys probably should be in that 6 neighborhood. But I think because they looked so good, because Cleveland was so bad, that I think we're getting this number excited. I think the Saints team's better than what people think. I thought last year they were, because of some injuries, they were kind of up and down. I think the Saints are pretty deep. They don't have the absolute ridiculous superstars that we kind of look for the top 5 or 10 teams in the league. But I think they're right underneath of that. Give me the Saints here, 6.5. I think the Cowboys win, but I think the Saints cover here. What do you like here, Wes?
Well, I am on the Saints train with you, Craig. So is Carolina really that bad, or are the Saints really that good? Maybe it's just a combination of both of them. One thing to keep in mind here, though, Marshawn Lattimore, he might be out. He's kind of the spark plug for that defense. But Dallas is banged up too, right? Ferguson, their tight end, is out. Trayvon Diggs, he's not 100%. Deron Bland, he's out till the middle of the year. But I think the key here, can the Saints offensive line stop Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. And here's how you stop them. You just run the ball. You don't pass the ball that much. That's how you beat the pass rush, right? I mean, they have Kamara, they have Jamal Williams, Jordan Mims, and reliable Taysom Hill. He actually had 35 yards on 5 rushes. So I think the key to this game, they need to pound the rock. They need to play keep away. They need to play time of possession. If they can do that, I think they cover this number, 6.5. It's a fantastic public fade. We were just talking about, fading the public and the 70% on the Jags, but everyone and their mother is going to be on the Cowboys here. And I'm going to play with the casino and play with the Saints plus 6.5.
Yeah. Speaking of 61% of the early bets as of Wednesday are on the Cowboys, but the big play, 74% are on the over, which that tells me maybe the under's live. What do you think, Scott?
Well, funny you should say that, Craig. I got to be honest. I feel like watching the Saints-Carolina game was about like watching a preseason game in that we learned absolutely nothing about the Saints. The only thing maybe we learned was pump the brakes a little bit on that Carolina win total over 5.5. That looks a little grim right now. First half Carolina possession, they went interception on the first pass, by the way. Punt, fumble, punt, field goal. Congratulations. You're down 30-3 at halftime. I think Dallas going into Cleveland and winning 33-17, a lot more impressive. They held Watson to 3.8 yards per attempt. Yikes. Sacked him 6 times, also hit him for a pick 6. They give up less than 4 yards per carry to their running backs, and Cleveland went 2 for 15 on third down. This defense is scary for the Cowboys. They weren't super impressive on the offensive side of the ball. CeeDee Lamb had 3 good rushes. Great. Other than that, the ground game struggled, and Dak threw for just 163 yards. This team punted 6 times. I think this number is a little bit too high. I think it should be closer to 43.5 or 44. I'm on the under. Let's go.
There you go. Anytime you're fading a big public play like that, you're usually on the right spot. So, all right, now we're going to what could be the grudge match. And for people that don't know, I'm a Bengals fan. For people that don't know, Scott is a Chiefs fan. And, we've seen some classic matchups just in the, small amount of time that Burrow has been in the league. It seems like every time these two face off, it's a great game. And I don't expect a whole lot different, even though the Bengals looked terrible last week and the Chiefs did win, but it did take a toenail on the line. They would win for 2, and then who knows? So Chiefs favored by 5.5. I do think the extra time for the Chiefs is a nice little, bonus. After your first week, you get an extra 2 days of rest. Total 47.5. Let's start with Wes here, and then Scott and I will have our showdown.
Showdown at the OK Corral. So I like Craig's Bengals here, okay? And this is kind of an ugly play because it's week 1 overreaction at its finest, right? So Burrow did not look good. He was pressured the 3rd lowest rate of his career, yet completed less than 6 yards per attempt. So what does that mean? I mean, his line, it played really well. They gave him time. He just couldn't find open receivers. So that's not a good thing. But are the Bengals really that bad? Probably not. The line opened at 6. It's actually come down to 5.5. So there's been some Bengals money coming in. But the Bengals have to look better here. No T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. He did catch 6 passes for 62 yards. So, I mean, they were kind of on the same page. They just didn't really connect for any big passes. But you know this, Craig. They're probably taking a beating in the Cincinnati media right now, and yeah. I think they're going to show up here. And they're slow starters too. You know this, Craig. Last 2 seasons they started 0-2, but I think it's different. Burrow and the Bengals, they're going to be up for the Chiefs. In fact, I think they just didn't care about the Patriots. They just looked ahead, even though it's all the pageantry of week 1. I think they were looking forward to this game, and they completely took the Patriots for granted. And I think they show up here, and you get the best of the Bengals. And I don't know if they win the game, but I think they hang tough.
I hope you're right here. The big question, I think, for the Bengals is T. Higgins. They lost Tyler Boyd in the offseason with their offensive coordinator to the Titans. And, T. Higgins was obviously not happy. He did not get a contract, and he's playing on a franchise tag. And then, Chase wanted a contract. He didn't get one, so he didn't start practicing until 3 or 4 days before the game. And people think that doesn't matter. There's a reason why you practice. It matters. I do think they'll play better because they'll have a full week of practice. I do think T. Higgins will play because it's the Chiefs and everybody wants to play in this, what's going to be the featured game in the afternoon. I think you have to say the Bengals are going to be better, so I will take the 5.5 points with my Bengals. I also think the under's a good play. I think this Chiefs defense is legit. All those years, I think the Chiefs had the top 3 offense in the league. I actually think their defense is the top 3 in the league now, and that's their key, I think, to win a championship this year, if their defense can continue to do what they did last year. So I'm going to take a little bit on the under, more on the Bengals plus 5.5. I do think the Chiefs win, though. So, Scott, you're going to get me there. What do you like in this one?
Craig, I just want to point out that you and I we're legitimate fans. We both grew up in the area. We're not Johnny come lately where you see these guys like, oh, I'm a Dodgers fan. Well, you live in Atlanta. What are you doing? Like, no, we're the real deal. And Craig, I'm going to actually fade you here. I'm going to take the over 47.5. There's just something that happens when these two teams get together. Mahomes and Burrow definitely have a great rivalry. We've seen 3 of the last 5 go over this total of 47.5. Now, the Chiefs weren't a big strike team last year, but with Worthy and Rice coming into his own, they're getting to stretch the field again. This Chiefs defense, they don't give up a ton of plays, of big plays, and they didn't do it against Baltimore either. But there were a couple of throws that Lamar didn't make that I think Burrow does make. These games have been knocked down, drag out, heavyweight fights, blow for blow since 2022. They've met 5 times in the last 3 seasons. And 4 of them have been decided by a field goal or less. Last year was decided by 8, only because Kansas City kicked a late field goal to make it from 5 to 8. But I do think there's going to be some points scored in this one. I think it's going to be a fun game as it goes over the total of 47.5.
Well, I think this might be a correlated parlay. If I was going to play this game as a same game parlay, I would probably play the Bengals and the under or the Chiefs and the over. I just kind of feel like if the Bengals keep it close, it'll probably be a lower scoring game. If the Chiefs kind of hit some of those big plays like we saw Worthy, I think it'll go over, and the Bengals will be chased some late, but I just don't think they'll get a cover. So if you like a same game parlay, I'm just saying. But my official play, we're going to be on the Bengals plus the 5.5. All right, so we go to Sunday Night Football, Bears and Texans. I thought the Bears were underwhelming on their offense. Who would have thought the defense, which we've seen the last few years has not been their cup of tea, actually won them the game. Texans I thought was a huge letdown spot for them because everybody's telling the Texans they're going to be Super Bowl contenders and how great they are. And I actually thought they played pretty well. And I thought that could have been a young team, could have went to Indy and not showed up. Texans -5 here, total 45.5. Scott, what do you like in this one?
I'm on the Texans minus the 5. There was a lot to like about that Texans win over the Colts. Stroud was good. Mixon ran the ball 30 times for 159 yards. Hey, look, we've got a running game now. That's great news for the people down there in Houston. And the Colts, well, they were unable to stop them in the second half, except for a blocked punt that they recovered at the 5 and were able to walk it in for a touchdown on the next play. The bad news is they gave up way too many plays and Anthony Richardson ran wild. And now they're going to face another young mobile quarterback in Caleb Williams. However, Williams isn't quite the runner that Richardson is, and at least through one game, he ain't the passer either. He struggled against the Titans, went just 14 for 29 for a paltry 93 yards. Luckily, the Titans and Will Levis decided that they didn't want to hang on to the football in the second half, and the Bears scored 24 unanswered to win by 7. They're not going to have that kind of luck in this one. Texans roll big.
I think this is one of those danger spots for Caleb Williams because as a young quarterback, when things don't go well, you do win at least. I think that's a positive because then, when you lose and play bad, boy, everybody's piling on. So maybe he'll be able to fix it. But he didn't have that kind of pressure, let's be honest, when you're playing in the Pac-12 that doesn't play a whole lot of defense in his face the whole time. And I think that's going to take him a few games. So I'm going to be on the Texans as well here, -5. It is a huge lot of people on, let's get the exact number. On the Texans, 69% are on the Texans, which kind of scares me. But I just think Houston is at home. They're going to show that offense off. They've got a lot of new shiny pieces, and I think they put up a big number here. And I don't think the Bears, they're not playing the Titans this time, where they won't be able to shut them down. So, Wes, what do you like? Do you agree with us on the Texans?
Well, unfortunately, I do not. I am on the Bears here. And I know that the Bears had zero business winning that game. I'm sure you all saw what happened. They came back from double digits. They did not score an offensive touchdown. But, it's a primetime game. Obviously, the public heavy on the over and the favorite. And Caleb Williams did not look good. I get it. Honestly, I think Jaden Daniels is going to be Rookie of the Year, by the way. But, yeah, he only averaged 3.2 yards per attempt, which is historically bad. all that being said, I know I'm not making a good case for my Bears here, but so this is very similar to the Bengals here. I just think that Caleb has a better game. Remember, Anthony Richardson, the Colts, they just put up 27 points on the Texans defense. Okay, so they will give up points. The Bears need to get the running game going. It's what they really need to do. They only ran 22 times for 84 yards. CJ Stroud will get his points. He's a legit MVP candidate. But this Bears defense is really good. They only gave up 244 yards to Tennessee. They sacked Will Levis 3 times. I like him to hang tough. I know it's ugly, but you got to bet ugly sometimes in the NFL. And by the way, I saw a 6. I heard you guys were laying 5, but I see +6 out there. So I guess there's some different lines out there. But I would say get the best line you can with the Bears.
I do see some 6s as well. So make sure you shop this around. I see some 5.5. So either way, you're under the key number of 7. So if you like the Texans, that probably shouldn't share you off. If obviously you like the Bears, you're getting an extra point. That's even better. You miss an extra point or something, so you never know. But I would say this matchup comes down to Caleb Williams because it's not going to be like last week where you can allow the defense to score all you the points. Like Texans are going to be one of the best offenses in the league, and they're going to put up points. So there you have it. Those are your 5 free games for Sunday. Don't forget, make sure you can subscribe if you want in on our best plays. Of course, we like all these plays, but none of these are going to be our best plays. Go over to picksandparlays.net, use the promo code EDGE, save 20% on all the packages, subscriptions, anything you want, the 2-for-1 cappers, and get in our best bets. So don't forget, make sure you like and subscribe, though, and follow us. We'll be releasing the Monday Night Football on Saturday, so make sure you check that out as well.